Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sarah Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make improvements in your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon, presented by 17 Hats. Hello and welcome to another episode. Today, I'm excited to share a really light, fun episode. These are episodes I love watching on YouTube or other podcasts in different areas, and that is favorite things. So I am going to be talking about all of the favorite things that I love to buy on Amazon specific to my balloon business. So obviously, this isn't going to be balloons. You're going to get the best price, the best deal, the best options if you order your balloons through a distributor. But these are other things that I like to use in my office, in my workspace, little hacks that I've discovered over the years. And I'm going to chat about all of these items, kind of explain how I use them, price ranges, even though that changes so frequently on Amazon, that's really hard to nail down. And then in the show notes, everything will be linked. So if you hear anything that you think would be helpful to you, you can go right to the show link or show notes wherever you're listening, and the link will be waiting for you. So I've tried to make this one really light, really fun, and I hope it doesn't bankrupt any of you listening. Some of these things are must-haves, some of them are nice-to-haves, and some of them are, if you're looking to give yourself a little treat, I have some ideas for you as well. So speaking of distributors, let's take a break and hear about our sponsor, Having a Party, where I recommend you should get all of your balloons. Again, don't buy your balloons on Amazon. You will spend so much more money and get total junk in return. So I recommend shopping at Having a Party. So we'll take a quick break and then we will get into my favorite Amazon finds. All right, summer is almost here, which means that I personally am heading into my really busy season. Between graduations, wedding, and baby showers, it is sometimes hard to even find the time to order inventory. So a couple of strategies that I use is to keep a color chart on hand and only keep those colors in stock, and then also only offer those colors to your clients. It keeps their choices really narrow, and it means that you have to order less. When you do need to order, I recommend doing that at Having a Party in one big haul. So I don't order very often, but I order a lot when I do. So now is the time to load up on all of your high school and college colors so you're prepped and prepared for graduation season, and also some of those frequently used colors for bridal showers, baby showers, even 4th of July. It's not too early to load up on your inventory. So I recommend heading to havingaparty.com and checking out everything that they have to offer. You can even save 5% at checkout using the code BRIGHTBALLOON. All right, here we go, my top finds on Amazon. And I will be honest, most of these things I did not find. These are a lot of recommendations from friends, from colleagues. These first two were recommended to me, it had to have been 3 years now, at Balloon Boss Summit. So let me just take a sidebar real quick. Balloon Boss Summit is the in-person event hosted by Balloon Coach. So you hear me mention Balloon Boss Mastermind, Balloon Coach, and Balloon Boss Summit is the in-person event that happens in November. So I am returning once again to teach. It is one of my favorite weeks of the year, and I think why it's had such a lasting impression on me and my business is because while business and money and being profitable is always like at the heart of this summit, so is self-care and sustainability and like building a business that doesn't make you want to cry and like you're burning yourself out. There's a kind of this holistic approach to business, which is why I love Summit. We'll link to that in the show notes too. If you're interested in attending, registration is open. I recommend it to everybody. I love it. But all of that to say, about 3 years ago in one of the sessions, we were talking about treating ourselves well and treating our employees well. And Diana Gladden recommended two things that I actually purchased on Amazon while I was at Summit. So they were waiting for me when I got home. And that was a paraffin wax hand dipping little machine and a mat, so an anti-fatigue mat that you can stand on. So the reason I'm lumping these two together, first of all, because Diana told me about both of them, but second of all, because they are definitely not in that need to have category, but really, really in that nice to have category. So let's talk about the mat first. If you've ever been to, well, you all have been, like a fast food place, if you look behind the cash register, all of the employees are standing on these little mats, and those are there to help their legs not get sore and their feet not get sore. So when it was brought up to me that like, yeah, you stand and inflate for hours on end, spend 20 or 30 bucks on one of these mats. They're like gel mats, and they actually do make a big difference. You don't feel the pain in your knees. You don't get tired. I'm always barefoot, and I just like the mats because they're a bit warmer on my feet. So that is my first recommendation, which is an anti-fatigue floor mat. And then the second is the paraffin wax dipper for your hands. So again, definitely not a need to have, but a nice to have, because our hands really, really get beat up just from tying. They get dry, they get worked really, really hard. And if you have a severe cuticle rip or a blister, like that will really impact your speed and also just your comfort and enjoyment. So this paraffin wax thing is like a little tub of warm wax that heats up. You can dip your hand in, and it gives you like a creepy little wax glove on your hand that you eventually just peel off. And it moisturizes your hands, and it feels like a little luxury. So this is a treatment that they can do at like a salon or a spa, but you can also just buy a machine to keep in your house. The reason that I really thought that was cool that Diana recommended it too is because these two items were less for her and more for her employees, which I think is great. The idea of keeping your employees comfortable and happy with some of these very simple, very inexpensive items. I love that. And I just use them personally myself because I don't really have employees. I have an inflator who comes to help me. And she stands on the little mat. Again, it's such an insignificant item, but it really does help versus standing on a concrete floor. So both of these items linked in the show notes if you are interested. Both of them well under $100. I think the paraffin wax thing was like $60, and the mat is, I think the high end, they're like $40. And again, prices are hard to nail down because they change so much on Amazon, especially because I got these items 3 years ago. I obviously won't be able to find the exact ones, but I will link to something similar. All right, let's move on. Something highly practical, and that is rubber bands. I get so many questions about rubber bands. Actually, if anyone remembers, I did an experiment in an episode, and I did a reel every day for a month just to see what happened. 3 of those reels were about rubber bands, and 3 of those went viral. Like all of my viral reels were about rubber bands. If you are using 260s to tie things into garlands, you are wasting so much money. Rubber bands are like pennies instead of, 260s are how much? They're like 4 or 5 cents a piece, and that adds up if you're using a couple hundred every week. So I go with rubber bands, and I have 2 different sizes. So the first size that I like is number 117A. I found out about these from Jenny Porter, and they are pretty large. So these are the size of like if you took a 260 and made it into a giant loop, probably a bit larger than that actually. They are giant rubber bands, and they're perfect for adding clusters into garlands. You can do like 2 clusters, like little nunchucks, and actually wrap them in. They're very large. So they're great for adding on. They're not great for actual like tension, like rubber banding, because they're so big you won't get a ton of pull. So the other size I like is number 33, and this is like kind of more a regular rubber band size, but they're stretchy enough that they can fit over 16-inch balloons. They're perfect for adding in like 5-inch clusters. I love both of these sizes. I probably go through 2 boxes a month of each size, and I love that they're on Amazon. Every time I open it up, it's right there like, would you like to reorder this item? And half the time it's like, yes, send me it. Again, it gets here in like a day. I have a hard time finding both of these sizes at regular stores. By the time I go to like Office Depot or Office Max or whichever one of those is even still in business, like I don't have the time. So Amazon is my recommendation for rubber bands, and that is a non-negotiable in my kit. Like rubber bands, U-glue dashes, and balloons. And scissors. Those are like my non-negotiables. I love a good rubber band. All right, let's move on to a little bit of a splurge item. And this is newer for me. I haven't really mastered it yet, but so far it's really freaking cool. And this is a gimbal. So this is like a little handheld robot-y looking thing that you clip your phone or your camera into, and it basically stabilizes it. So if you're trying to take video of your balloons and like walk around with your camera, sometimes it's jiggly or like you're looking behind you and you're trying not to trip over anything, but you want kind of those sweeping shots, right? Video is what everyone is pushing right now, and it's hard to get that professional looking video on your phone. So this gimbal was $99, and it's pretty cool. It clips into any iPhone, and then you have a little stick that you can hold it on, or these little legs flip out and it can actually sit like a tripod, which I find really useful. So if you are recording like a time lapse of a setup or something like that, instead of leaning your phone against like a box that's going to tip over, you have this built-in little tripod, which is cool. Then it also has little controls. So you can just stand there and actually like use a little miniature joystick and actually pan to the left or the right or up and down. And it makes everything very smooth and seamless. And you're just recording on your phone, but it's the movement that makes it look a bit more professional. What's cool about the one that I ordered is that it also has additional settings within this app that you can download. So the gimbal itself syncs to an app on your phone, and there are different settings. There's like, I don't even know how to describe them, but there's like a time lapse type of setting, or you've probably seen on Instagram when people are like walking through a room and it's like normal speed and then it speeds up, and then it's normal speed and then it speeds up. That is a setting all built into this app that like syncs nicely with the gimbal. So those are all bells and whistles, but the bottom line is that if you do any video work, this is $100 to basically make it look a lot more professional. I actually bought it for the big balloon build because I wanted to make sure to get a lot of professional, high quality footage. And then in the end, there was actually so many professional photographers there that I really didn't need to worry about it. But now it just kind of lives in my delivery van. And anytime I'm doing a more impressive or larger install, I bring that in because I just know that the quality is going to be so much better. And, you know, if anything, it's a built-in tripod, which is awesome. So I will link that as well. All right, next one. Probably unpopular opinion, and I know I said I don't recommend getting any balloons off of Amazon. However, I have a couple exceptions to that rule. I have found that the best place to get like itty bitty self-sealing foil balloons is on Amazon. I use a lot of little teeny tiny stars. So I've done like baby showers where they have like stars and moons. I've done Disney themed birthday parties where they want little stars. And I know that some of our good manufacturers have very cute teeny tiny foils, but you have to heat seal all of them. And that takes a lot of time, and it's not something that I want to do on site at a job. So I have found that Amazon is like this treasure trove of itsy bitsy little self-sealing foils. And I think why that is because people buying on Amazon are DIYers. Like they're not going to have any clue that they need to buy a heat sealer. So if someone just sells that product and it doesn't self-seal, they're just going to get a million one-star reviews from people who have no idea what heat sealing even is. And I personally find heat sealing pretty tricky and pretty long. Like it takes me a really long time. So I am all about the self-sealing balloon. And I think that Amazon, I will link to the little stars that I use because I think they're so great. Again, not a huge must have, but when you need 100 itty bitty little stars and you have the option to heat seal them or not, I personally am always going to go the heat sealing route. The other advantage to a self-sealing tiny foil is that they don't have that long tail that's needed to heat seal. So you can just inflate it, it seals itself, and then I just stick those on with little U-glue dashes. So again, this is like the rare exception to my balloon rule, but I have found these itty bitty little foils that I love, little stars, little moons, little odd shapes like 4th of July, like little tiny shapes. Those are on Amazon and I love them. So I will link to those. All right, let's move on. Framework I have been loving on Amazon. Now, I will say it is garbage. But for me, most of the time, that's okay. I feel like I went into the balloon industry thinking that all of my framework had to be indestructible, bomb-proof, right? Like it had to withstand 100-mile-an-hour winds and never, ever break. But if I'm spending $50 on something, it's going to pay for itself the first time I use it. So if it breaks after the 50th time I've used it, I'm kind of okay with that. So I like to experiment with different kinds of framework from Amazon. Now, here's what I look for in framework, because I've gone through a lot of duds. It is always better if the frame is squared, not tubed. So if you think of like you're looking at the tube or you're looking at the shape of the framework, if it is round, it's not going to be as strong as if it was squared off, because you think if you click together two round pieces, they can kind of move around inside of each other, versus if you click together two square pieces, they can't bend, they can't move. So something like a circle frame, if it is a tube and you click them together, it's going to be a lot wobblier than if you have two square pieces fitting into each other to make that same circle arch. So you might be thinking, what type of framework am I thinking about? So I have a circle frame that is garbage that I will not be linking, but I have two of those. What are they even called? I jokingly call them Shakira walls. I know that's not what they're called. I think it's Shiara, but they look like tombstones, right? And people are obsessed with these things right now. So I bought a set. They were $50 each, and I have been using them like crazy. I recommend them to everyone. They are so lightweight. They are so portable. I don't even take them apart. I just throw them in my van, and they're perfect for attaching garlands. You can do a ton of different designs. They can overlap. You can get different sizes. They even sell these spandex covers that slip over the top. And I like them a lot. Again, are they the best quality? For sure, no, but they're really inexpensive. So that makes it easier to have multiple sets out at one time. I'm a lot more forgiving if something were to happen to them. I wouldn't say these are great for outdoor. Definitely this is an indoor piece, but I think framework is becoming a bit more affordable, and actually the quality is getting better on Amazon. I think for some of your, big pieces, like if you need an arch and you want to buy base plates, obviously go through a distributor for that. But I'm talking about like odd shapes, things you want to try. You want to experiment with, get a couple of these sets of walls and see if you can sell them. I actually have a few that I'm going to link on Amazon that I've been really happy with. I know some of my friends have them and think they're too flimsy, but for someone with a $300 budget, a flimsy little wall with a garland tacked onto it, it looks like $1 million, and it's really, really profitable. So I will link to some of my framework that I recommend from Amazon. All right. Next up, let's take a break. Let's hear from another sponsor, and then I have a few more that I'm excited to recommend to you.
Hi, this is Jeff from Balloon Suite by Asset Lab. We help balloon decor businesses bring in more sales and leads with a high-tech toolkit that includes your website, your domain, your advertising, your search engine optimization. Our plans start at $50 a month, and we'll even buy out your Wix or Squarespace or GoDaddy subscription to help you get onto a platform that's made for and optimized for your business in balloon decor. Check us out at balloonsuite.com.
Okay, now this one is really, really niche, but I discovered the hard way that this was something that I needed. So I recently purchased a set of marquee light up numbers. So I don't have the full set of the alphabet, but I was getting so many requests for those marquees, and I kept having to refer them to other companies that finally I just bit the bullet and I spent several $1,000s to get my own set. And I love them. They're beautiful. They're not even up on my website yet, but I'm excited to have them for graduation season, for New Year's, for birthdays over the summer. I love them. However, those lights on the back are strung with a cord, obviously, right? There's electrical components. And I learned very early on that sometimes the socket that the light plugs into can be faulty. And in a pinch, I had to figure out, what the heck do I do? So after doing some research, I realized the way these things are wired is by one cord and then a socket that essentially like clamps on. And it has these little teeth and they bite into the cord, which is how it feeds electricity to each individual bulb. So I had one of those go out, and luckily I had time to troubleshoot and figure it out. But you can get replacement sockets on Amazon. So if you have marquees or if you have anything that lights up that you probably didn't make yourself, you might want to check out how to repair them, because in a pinch, I've learned it's actually not very hard. These sockets basically clamp on and clamp off. So I had a defective socket that wouldn't light up, like the bulb just looked dead. So I was able to pull that off, and once you pull it off, it's not reusable. So I had to find a new light socket, and I ordered this bundle on Amazon. I think it was like 50 of them. And it just clips right onto the cord, and I was back in business. And I'm really glad that that happened, because now I know how to repair my lights. And a lot of times you don't know that something's wrong until you're already on site. So now anytime I rent out my marquee lights, I have extra bulbs, I have extension cords, and I'm going to have some of those sockets available with some pliers or something to make changing it out available. And in my mind, I think now that I'm prepared, it's never going to happen again. But I had to learn the hard way that sometimes those sockets go bad. And for a couple bucks, you can have a bunch of replacements on standby. So you never have to worry about them burning out or being defective or anything like that. So I will link to those light sockets. Again, this isn't going to apply to you unless you rent out marquees and you own your own set, but it was something that I didn't even know could go wrong until it did go wrong. And then Amazon saved the day with 24-hour delivery, and I was able to deliver in time for the party. All right, next up, shelf dividers. So this is a strange one, but I for the longest time kept all my balloons in bins, and it got old, right? Like pulling out the bins, opening the lids, seeing what I have, putting the lid on, putting it back on the shelf. And then if you stack them like 2 or 3 high, that whole thing was just a pain in the butt. So I actually eliminated all of my storage bins, and now I just put bags of balloons in piles on my shelves. However, it's going to be a mess, right? Like you're going to have a bag of balloons, and if you have them more than 2 or 3 high, they want to kind of slip off to the side and like fall off the shelf. So I found these shelf dividers on Amazon that are meant for closets. So imagine if you had a shelf in your closet and you wanted your pants folded, and then you wanted some shirts folded, and then you wanted a pile of, who knows, purses, whatever. So these are clear acrylic shelf dividers, and they just stick. They're like vertical up and down dividers that just stick directly to your shelf. And I stick these inside of an IKEA cubby, like the one that everyone has, right? It's like the cubes. The cube was too big for balloon bags. So I got these shelf dividers that are clear. They look really nice. They installed really quickly. And there's just like a peel off sticky that you stick onto the shelf. And now I can fit 2 colors on each cubby. And instead of, when I get balloon orders, instead of kind of dreading having to like get all the bins out and take all the lids off and put the bags in, and then they don't fit in the bin, and then I have to stuff the lid back on and put it back on the shelf and then stack them up in the right order, like that just wasn't working. So now I just have these open shelves with these shelf dividers, and the bags just get stacked in whatever color they need to go on. The other thing that's great about that is that I can see everything. Everything is out. Everything is open. So when I need to figure out my inventory or do an order, all I have to do is look. All I have to do is see what shelf is empty or low. Everything is out in the open. So these shelf dividers would work on bookshelves, on open shelving. They would work on whatever, because they kind of like corral my balloon bags into little piles, if that makes sense. And I love them. I've had them for probably about 6 months now, and I was pretty skeptical. I was thinking like, there's no way this adhesive is going to be strong enough. These things are just going to tip right over. But they really don't, as long as you have kind of an equal amount of balloons on both sides. So if I have like 10 bags of black on one side of the divider and 0 bags of white on the other side, then the pressure of the black balloons are going to tip over that divider. But if I have like 5 of one color and 5 of the other, it's equal pressure. So it actually kind of holds that divider right where it needs to stay. I really haven't had anything to worry about. They've worked great. It has sped up my ordering time and my unpacking time by a ton. I love having everything out in the open. I love being able to see what I have. I love being able to put bags away super fast or grab bags like in a hurry. I love it. And they're something that, again, you don't probably need, but if you do need them, this just solved a huge problem for you. So like everything, those will also be linked. All right, now, the last thing that I have to recommend is a very specific business card and rack card holder, and it's a combo. So the reason I'm recommending this is because when I started having my grab-and-go garlands available for pickup at grocery stores, I needed materials there as well. And I didn't just want to have like a pile of cards that was going to get knocked over or whatever. So I knew I wanted a holder, like a little plastic card holder, but I also had a rack card. So like a tall, skinny rack card that explains how my grab and go process works. So if you've purchased the grab and go garland bundle, that rack card is in there for you. That's exactly what I use. It has my process on the front with like a QR code of how to order. And then on the back, it's my color chart. So that's the tall, skinny one. But I also wanted business cards because I was aware that some people might not want a grab and go garland, but they might just want to like take my card. So this plastic acrylic card holder is like a 2-in-1. It has the tall section for the rack card, and then in front of it, it has a short little mini section so I can put my business cards. And it just is really sleek. It was a couple bucks. It's all in one, which I think is just nice. Was able to just drop that off at the store, refill the rack card, refill the business cards, and that way it's all in one piece. So I know a lot of people are doing grab and goes from like bakeries or toy stores or other unique areas where you want to have your stuff on display. And I think this is a really clean, simple way to have multiple materials on display at once. So I will link to that as well. And that is all I have for you. So again, I didn't want to think of things just to think of things. These are things I actually own and I use. The list of things that I've purchased that I don't recommend that's never ending, right? Like I'm always trying things that don't work out. So this was my list of things that I wholeheartedly recommend, I use constantly, and I think can solve some of your problems potentially. And I hope this was a fun, light episode. Moving forward in the month, I have a lot of fun things planned. I am currently doing some background research on Instagram verification. So if you notice on my Instagram for the Bright Balloon, I now have the little blue check mark. I paid for it, right? That's what they're monetizing it. So you pay for it now, and it potentially gets you more customer service, more security. We'll see. I will report back to you soon. The other episodes I have coming out this month are an interview about cold emailing. That one is going to be a treat. That is with my friend Rachel. And what else do we have in the works? So much. Oh, a full episode about the Big Balloon Build. Obviously, it was a whole new ball game hosting. I have been to the Big Balloon Build as a participant. Holy cow, do I have details to share from the hosting perspective. I've never been more exhausted or proud in my entire life, so I will share that. And the last kind of housekeeping detail is about the book club. Many of you are members in the book club. That is the paid subscription side of this podcast. So that is 4 bonus episodes every single month, and those are around a book each month. So usually business or self-development related. And even if no one listened, I would still continue to make those episodes because I gain so much, not only from reading the books, but then from talking through them. My life has changed because of them. It's the reason I left my job. It's the reason I hired help. It's the reason everything that has changed in my life has been because of the books that I've read in the book club. However, speaking of quitting my job, I have a bit more bandwidth now, and I'm excited to take the book club to a new level where we are going to do live Zoom book club chats. So just one a month. So instead of the 4 bonus podcast episodes, it's going to be 3 bonus podcast episodes. And then the last week of the month, there will be a completely optional Zoom chat where anyone who's a member can hop on, and we're actually going to discuss the book like a book club. So I'm really, really excited about that. I've always wanted that to be a little bit more of a conversation, a two-way street, but it just wasn't possible when I was working 500 jobs. So now that I am focusing full-time on my business and the podcast, I'm really, really excited to start those. So if you are already in the Patreon group, if you are a subscriber to that $5 a month subscription, you will get an email this week about details for the book club. If you are not a member of the book club, you can join using the link in the show notes. It's $5 a month. Even if you don't listen, I appreciate it. It's a really, really easy way to support the podcast. So thank you for those of you that are already members and have been for a long time. I appreciate you so much. And with that, let's wrap things up and hear about my favorite 17 Hats, our presenting sponsor. And I will see you guys next week. Okay, guys, here's the deal. I have a little script that I am supposed to read about how amazing 17 Hats is, but I'm not going to do that this week because I can wholeheartedly speak from experience about how incredible it is. I have just finished hosting the Big Balloon Build, which was a 2-year-long planning process, but really, really intense for 14 days. From the time the team arrived to the time the event ended was a full 2-week span where I was away from my computer. And the day after the event wrapped, I was caught up on email. And that is because of 17 Hats. There were a lot of things that I was able to put in place during the Big Balloon Build so that my customers and people filling out my inquiry form knew that I was going to be delayed getting back to them. I had autoresponders going. I had my grab and go garlands running in the background. I was able to make sales during those 2 weeks without ever even opening a computer. And I have the 17 Hats app, which means that if I had to take care of business, I could do that wherever I was, which was good because I was all over the place during those 2 weeks. So I can't speak highly enough about 17 Hats. I love it. They are listening to us as a balloon community. Them sponsoring this podcast is huge. They care about us. They care about our industry. And I've never met a nicer group of people that have helped make me a ton of money. I'm just going to be honest. I love using their platform. So thank you to 17 Hats for sponsoring the podcast. Also, if you are looking to level up your business and you are sick of feeling disorganized and spending hours going through email and dropping the ball, 17 Hats is the solution. I am even going to Balloon Boss Summit in November, and I'm sponsored by 17 Hats. So that is going to be a great time to learn and see behind the scenes of how it works, how I use it, and a lot of other balloon business owners use 17 Hats as well. So the platform is growing stronger and stronger because more of us are jumping on board, and I just love it. With that, I will wrap things up and see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. As usual, I tried to keep it bright and light. If you are interested in bonus episodes, check out our Patreon group where I release an additional episode every single week and you unlock more than 50 archived episodes as soon as you join. Check out the link in the show notes wherever you're listening.